black market passport prices. I have some good contacts, and you'll be pleased with the results. Yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do is get the old migration route down from the Kruger Park through Mozambique into Isamangolisa. You can see we've got 50 shades of green, winter, summer, autumn and spring. Never goes brown. So those animals, to get away from the summer rainfall areas, would come down here in winter, browse and graze, and then turn and go back in again. And then
Does that happen?
yeah. Sorry.
I mean, is it happening in the sense that the animals are actually doing that
It
now?
used to happen.
Yeah.
The birds are migrating. So what's nice is birds will use stepping stones, so you can set up little parks in between parks,
Okay.
and they'll use those to hop across.
And you with Janine from Life is a Beach. And so far we haven't seen the beach on this trip because the weather hasn't been so good. But taking into account the fact that the weather hasn't been so good, we've been having a wonderful time anyway. St Lucia is part of the wetlands, and as Kian taught me, the way to say is Isamangolisa is the wetland park, but he can say it far better than I am. And I'm with Kian Barker, and you with either Sharka Barker, Eco Lodge.
Yep,
You run the town.
well, not really. We run a business and look after people that come to us. That's what we want. When you arrive, we'll take good care of you, be it in accommodation or in the lakes or on land on safari.
Have you always lived in St Lucia?
Well, since November 1996. So,
Most of your adult
grown
life.
up in Pretoria, did spend a bit of time in the Kruger area, small stint in Botswana, and now St Lucia.
What
which
did
is
you
a
do in
remarkable area.
Botswana?
I ran a lodge there. I set up and learned how to set up and run and facilitate.
Was that
lodges.
up in the Chobe area?
Tuli block. So it was actually the Tuli Safari Lodge that we
So it was
ran
all, and where did you learn your knowledge about so much animals? And I mean, yesterday when we were looking on the boat, I was amazed at your knowledge of the birds and the hippos, the
Yeah.
crocodiles.
Yeah. So look, there are two areas I've looked at where I actually picked up my knowledge. The first was I did a formal degree in botany, zoology, and fishery science. And then it's the way people ask questions. And everybody looks at an animal or bird or the ecosystem and asks a question in a specific way. And once you start putting that information together after years and years, you learn a lot yourself about how questions are formulated to how animals actually interact in the environment.
And in terms of your growing knowledge, do you find you learn something new every day?
Yep, there's always something new to learn in the bush. I mean, the other day we had a remarkable sight of a fish eagle swimming a catfish out the water, getting onto the bank and then flying off with it. That's something you don't see every day. And then shortly after that we saw hippo catching rain in their mouths. It was posted online as well. So in this incredible storm we got stuck into, we just stuck it out. We sat next to hippo, had extra tea and coffee. And when the rain was really pouring down, the hippo had opened their mouths to the sky and were drinking rain as it fell in their mouths.
And when you start at the Eco Lodge, the St Lucia Eco Lodge, what can I expect to see?
In the sense of
Your accommodation. What do I
That's
book before I start on my journey? Because I see you've got a lot of activities that I can do once I'm there.
Yeah.
So once I'm at the lodge and I've chosen my room, because I see you've got a whole range of different rooms.
That's the whole concept of Eco Lodge, was to bring in green technology, but to be sophisticated about it. So it was putting in solar heaters, putting in PV panels, for making green energy, right down to the last little fine details. We've got a little group of bantam chickens that chase out all the bugs and things. And although we do fertilize, we've worked in combination with all these other ideas and concepts people have formulated over.
So the lodge is actually
time.
run on an eco basis.
Yeah, but we've got electricity, we've got proper water, we serve proper breakfast.
No, that you do.
But around it, we just, let's use green technology, LED lighting, solar reflective paint. And we paint the solar reflective paint inside and outside. So when you switch on an LED light, the room is brighter. Whereas normal paints don't reflect 30% more light, whereas solar reflective paints do inside.
And what made you decide to do that?
Well, for many years, I was the chairman of the B&B Association for a while, and I battled to get people to practice and use eco. And I had a little green award for everybody who could seed their ideas, but nobody really liked it that much. There were some people that did. So in the end I said, well, let's go big, let's do a whole lodge, let's name it properly, and over those years of collecting these ideas, I've incorporated them into the lodge.
Because it's really quite beautiful, and I love the chickens, and
Yeah.
I think those are just, we saw them some more this morning. I see there's some babies around there as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think they like the lodge too much. You're gonna have to start charging them rent now.
And certainly the accommodation we have with the kitchenette is
Yes.
such a nice idea, because it means we don't have to eat out at night. We can just
Correct.
have a basic meal inside
Yeah,
and
one of the
enjoy
things-
the scenery.
Yeah, one of the things we do for breakfast is we include local fruit. Pineapples, mangoes, whatever is current, bananas, and people come and stay. Like you said, they don't necessarily want to eat art, but they'd like to try some local fruit. Or they'd like to try
Absolutely.
braai. I mean, many foreigners have never braaied before, so there's braai facilities to
Oh,
teach room,
right.
that type of thing. So it's all encompassing. You give people a really hands-on stay, or they can go to a restaurant. There's 12 in town.
And I've noticed that you, on every pillar, you're advertising something different to do in St Lucia with you.
Yeah,
Let's start with the relaxing side, because I see
Yeah.
you have some spas advertised.
correct. Yeah, so if you come to town, you need your fingernails done, or hair done, or nice massage, we can arrange that right through to...
And it's not at the lodge, it's taking into account that there's so many people in the town that can do business collaboratively.
Correct.
So it's, rather than run your own, you collaborate with others in the town that run it as their business.
Totally.
And I think that's such a neat idea, for want of a better word. The
Yeah.
Americans always use neat. But it's a great idea, because a lot of people try and incorporate everything into their own venue, but they
Yeah.
don't always do it as well as if they outsourced it to somebody
Yeah.
who's running it as their business.
Correct. Yeah, so I mean, I could build a whole massage parlor, whatever, at the lodge, but what's the point?
If there's
You're
one
just
in town,
duplicating it. Rather use
exactly.
somebody like a collective.
And I think
process.
St Lucia is so close.
Yeah.
In other words, everything is a block or two away. It's not
Yeah.
like it's a sprawling metropolis and you have to drive across town. Driving
Yeah.
here across town is going 3 blocks.
Well, the advantage is you can lie in bed and watch your hippo go past.
We did last night.
so well organized that it's that pleasant and that well organized, and it's tourist friendly.
And
Not
thanks so much
stuck
for
in
arranging that
Moscow.
last night, having
Yeah.
the hippo on the side of the road so that we could view it properly after spending time
Yeah.
with it after spending time with you on the boat.
Yeah, it was a bale of hay. I'll put that on your card. But the hippo appreciated the hay.
Moving on to the more exciting activities like the boat on the Sharkabaka, on the
Isamangolisa.
There you go. You see, you say it
Isamangolisa.
so well. And we toured with you on the river, seeing the hippos in action,
Yeah.
crawling along the bottom of the water. We didn't see any crocs, but we did see some weavers, and we
Yeah.
saw some hornbills.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about those activities.
Yeah, so look, this area's got possibly the densest population of hippo in South Africa and the most tourist-friendly one. So the big advantage, you can go right up next to a hippo, watch the interaction, as well as crocs and other animals around. And it's stone's throw away from the lodge. So click this, bring them down, and spend at least 20-30 minutes with a group of hippos having a cup of tea and a rusk.
Oh, I had the hot
Foreigners.
chocolate, divine.
Yeah, or hot chocolate. And my favourite review, which guests left, and they said they were given old hard cakes. We got a 1 out of 5 review rating for that. And it just shows, people coming to South Africa need to try braai or rusk or something local.
And they need to understand that.
And they appreciate it. That's what we are.
But your
Third
talk
World War
was
nearly started after
incredibly.
that review.
Your talk was amazing yesterday of the park and
Yeah.
of your knowledge of the waterways and the estuary.
Yeah.
Where did that knowledge come from?
But it's just built up over time. So some from scientific background. Also, it's the questions people have asked. So I've just set it up in such a way, they want to know how many ecosystems. So we run through all the ecosystems. We know how big the park is, so we run through it. So once the tour starts, you run through all these basic questions. It makes it nice for everybody not asking the same question. And then when you're on the water, you can take the whole guiding experience to the next level where people are asking more interactive questions. And I've trained all my guides that way, and that they then start guiding, and each trip is more intellectually interesting than just answering the same question, how big is the park, every single trip you do 2 to
Absolutely.
3 times. So
And how big is the park?
1.3 million hectares, it's the second largest park in South Africa now.
Wow.
2 years ago they added another million marine,
And is it
Hectares.
mostly water?
a million marine hectares of marine sanctuary, and then 324,000 hectares of land. So it's the second to Kruger.
And in the terms of the land, do you have the big 5, possibly?
Totally. Yeah. So the southern part of the park is 4 of the big 5. You just don't have lions. But the Mkuzi section, which is part of Isamangolisa, has 9. And they're doing so well, they put them on contraceptives. So this park is good for everything.
And in terms of being able to do both, do you do the land and the waterway safaris?
Yeah, so we boat trips. The first one in the morning is coffee and croissant. We did this morning, so go and have a light breakfast with a hippo, and you're back after 3 hours. Then we do land. Then we do just the normal sunset tour, which is great. And then land-based tours, everything from night drives to sunset cruises, as well as full day environmental tour through all the 5 ecosystems in the park.
And
snorkeling
are
and
there,
chef island.
what are the 5 ecosystems?
So essentially, Indian Ocean, that goes 60 kilometers out to sea. And then we've got the coastal dune, which are covered by 250 different types of trees. Coastal plains, which is between what we call the eastern shores. There's a massive ecosystem stretches from Durban to Somalia. Lake St Lucia, which is an estuarine lake with an estuary component. And then finally the savanna. So that's sort of summer rainfall and dry in winter.
And are the hippos out all year round?
So they're all the time in the same place.
Where do they get out to come into the street?
So yesterday we stopped in a hippo highway.
Yes.
And down this side of town we've got little hippo highways, little exits that they go out. It's over hundreds, if not thousands of years they've used them to access into town. Same hippo every year. When I first arrived here in 96 there were 3 hippo. Now there are about 11 that move through town every night. It's the only place they eat grass. They're very territorial. If other hippo come and try and eat you, they'll chase them out, and likewise for them, they can't go and eat elsewhere. This is the place, St Lucia. And they love
And
it.
how many hippo is there in total in the estuary?
About
that you
1,500. It's increasing every
And
year.
it grew from how? I
In the
mean,
mid-90s, there were about 380 hippo.
jeez.
So it's done very well. They've removed the pine trees. Put a lot of work into rehabilitating, removing alien weeds, that type of thing. And the hippo population is responding and increasing.
In terms of St Lucia, have you seen it grow from a little town to a fair-sized fishing town?
It's just changed from fishing town to tourist town. So there's fewer fishermen, but the size and it's a fixed number of stands. It's the only town surrounded by a World Heritage Site that you can own private land inside. So it's a municipality. Whereas Sleeping Bear Dunes in America is government-owned town within a World Heritage Site. We're very unique in that way. So you can't get more land. It's just the way it is. You can put a double story on your house, maybe increase
You
the
can't
number of
buy
rooms, but
more land.
not going to get bigger. So they've just upgraded the quality of what we see in town.
And fishing?
Fishing is excellent. Yeah, deep sea, spearfishing, rock and surf. Estuary is not that good at the moment, a lot of catfish and bream, but there's always fish to be caught in St Lucia.
And do they, can they fish in the sea by launching from here or Cape
Yeah.
Vidal?
Yeah, so there's 3 launch sites here. There's Mapalan, there's St Lucia and Cape Vidal. And it's excellent, year round. Boats seldom come back with no fish.
And you can buy fish straight off the boat when they come back?
Well, they sell it through fishermen's.
Yes.
So they've got to pass through a dealer. So you
Okay.
can go and buy your fish from fishermen's.
Otherwise you can take it home because you've
Yeah.
caught it.
There we go. Yeah.
And you're a
licenses,
tourist.
fishing licenses are available. There's several fishing shops in town. It's all available and good knowledge. I mean, the guys at the fishing shops will give you good advice and fresh bait and stuff like that.
So all the knowledge is available for you to come on holiday as a greenback. You
Yeah.
don't have to know anything about an ecosystem. You don't have to know anything about hippo or fishing. You can get it all here.
And we'll fill in the empty spaces.
I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, so unique. It's a totally unique town. I mean, people ask, what can you do in St Lucia? So I usually start with saying, I'll tell you what you can't. There's no snow and there's no glaciers. But everything else is here.
So tell me, what's the way forward for the lodge and for your safari excursions?
I think the big thing is to rebuild what we had prior to COVID. I mean, that was a big challenge. I mean, we were a ghost town for a while, and we're getting back. And then just upgrade facilities and bring in products and things. But in general, you know, St Lucia's evolved over 70 years, and it's,
And is the drive
Yeah.
to bring back domestic tourism, because I think domestic tourism before COVID clearly went overseas as their big holiday.
Yeah.
And they stood in queues, had bad food, spent a fortune, came back
Yeah.
and said, geez guys, that holiday cost us 100,000 Rand. And if you went locally, it would cost you a third of that.
Yep.
And you would have the best experience because A, you didn't have to stand in queues at the airport.
Yeah.
You knew your own language, you were able to spend your own money, and you would have the most terrific time because
Yeah.
of people like yourself.
yeah. So we've got, what was amazing with the lockdown is South Africans started doing road trips. They've always wanted to go to St Lucia, or they've always wanted to go to Drakensberg. So they're driving all the way from Cape Town, taking a huge circular route to South Africa, and they said, we'll be back. And some of them have already been back. And they have had their holidays cancelled, but they've never regretted.
And I think their children are benefiting.
Yeah.
Because instead of learning about somebody else's country, they're learning about their own.
Yes. I think South Africans tend to be a little bit complacent, but once you start really engaging in what your country is about, it becomes a very rewarding experience. And you
I
see
actually
what you've
noticed yesterday we got in the car and the car next to us had a little baby in the car seat and it had an iPad and
Yeah.
it was playing on the iPad. And I thought, don't do that because your child
Totally
doesn't
agree.
learn to look out the window.
got. Yeah.
I mean, I think, and I know from experience because we did something similar with our kids when they were little. And when my daughter turned 21, she wanted to go to Durban, to Mshlanga, to our timeshare on for her 21st. And it took her 12 hours to find Durban. So it was because she'd never really
Looked up from her iPad.
looked out from outside and looked around her and said, wow, I remember this place, or this is the smallest church, or this is Van
Yeah.
Riemen's Pass.
Yeah.
Those things that we know when we're driving, they don't seem to know because you haven't noticed. Yesterday we noticed a little shop on the right-hand side of the road, little Bob Marley Jamaican kind of place.
George. What a darling. Yeah, it's
Just
good.
loved it. We stopped, we interviewed him, we chatted to him, and I just thought if we'd been looking at an iPad, we would have missed him.
Correct. And that's the problem with what they talk internet and all this social media. You actually miss the real value. They're good marketers on social media. They can tell any story you believe it, you book. Whereas when you do it yourself, you actually start seeing what's really out there. And I mean, I did the same thing with my daughters. I taught them how to use maps. We traveled the whole coastline of South Africa. By the time they finished, they knew how to use a map and choose, and we found the place with the worst coffee in South Africa.
Oh my word. And I must say, I
Just
missed
interaction.
when I was spending time with somebody planning this journey. We were planning it on a map.
Yeah.
And I said to him, please can I take your wall map with me? And he said, no, this wall map does not leave my office because I plan all my holidays on this map.
Yeah.
So I said to him, I still have my map books because we love our map books.
Yeah.
It tells me what the end journey is going to be and I can trace it back to where I'm starting.
Yeah.
Whereas on my little screen, I
Or
can't see anything.
GPS. I mean, we're just getting manipulated by smartphones and becoming dumb.
And that's so scary. That's really scary.
And it's, you know, a map is a social thing. You can all gather around it. And that's why at the beginning of our tours, we take out a map. And collectively, everybody can be involved in the introduction and the process. So you can visualize everybody, whereas everybody was sitting on devices.
You
know,
couldn't collaborate.
You can't collaborate. You're missing the point.
And you just know the skinny little roads or the sand roads and the fat
Yeah.
roads or the national roads
There we
and,
go.
you know, the A roads. So you learn about topography. And I know when I was playing, I think it was 60 Seconds with my kids,
Yeah.
and the question was, where was the Wall of China? And they said Norway. I knew then I had a problem.
You had a challenge that you had to sort out. Yeah.
So when they went traveling and they went to the States, my daughter phoned me from New York and she said, Mom, where's Macy's? And I said to her, it's on the corner of Fifth and and she said, she turned to her friend, she said, see, I told you my mother would know.
There we go. Yeah.
And I said to her, that's because when we go to a place, we explore without looking at our phones.
And you learn, it becomes a memory.
And I think that's what phones took away from us.
Yeah.
Even in your experience yesterday on the boat was so amazing. Myself and my colleague Nikita and Keith, we were so engrossed in what was going on around us. We took a couple of photos because 35 photos of one hippo wasn't really going to be used anyway. So we took one good photo. And last night when we got home and it was time for bed, I went on my phone and I posted all the pictures that we'd had during the day. And I noticed a lot of young people will rather do it from the boat. And I always think, but those other people aren't here. It doesn't matter whether it's right now or it's later. Don't miss what you can see.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look the same on your phone.
Yeah, and all the other boats started putting Wi-Fi on the boat. And I think, well,
No,
what are you booking?
exactly.
Yeah.
No, don't ever do that.
Not a
Because
chance,
that
no.
would just take away the whole experience.
Yeah. And like you say, when you get back, we've got a good upload and a download speed at the lodge.
And you can just
the stuff
upload it there because you can still say my location was the wetlands.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to say that I'm not there, that I can't say I was there.
Correct.
you know. But the experience that we had yesterday, and certainly our accommodation experience, has been wonderful. Thank you so
Oh,
much
you're
for that.
welcome. Nice having you.
And it would be wonderful to see more people starting to, because I mean, your lawns leading onto that view of the sea is
Yeah.
just, when we stood outside yesterday, we thought that's the first view of the sea we've had.
Right. Yeah. And what's also unique about the lodge, we can see the highest vegetated sand dune in Africa when you look south.
Oh, do you see it from there?
Yeah, it's a unique location there.
You were talking about the sand dune yesterday, and you were saying it takes one raindrop, how long?
14 years to pass through the dune system as a result of all the titanium and zircon and ilmenite and rutile. Nice fishing eagle over there.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
you see, that's the
Worst
area that
places to be, eh?
we could be in a much worse
Yeah.
place. So tell me a little bit about where people find you, how do they book?
So we've got all our online booking, so from websites and that type of thing. I like referrals and welcome backs. So that's really where it's the proof of the pudding. If people are coming back or referring, and I really want people to talk about their experience or write about it.
Or write about
And
it even better.
that's what we get. Yeah, we don't. The other thing is we don't mass produce numbers and stuff. We'll do a few personalized tours a day. The guides need to be fresh. It's not like doing 6 or 7 trips. We'll do 3 or 4 trips a day at the most, and we take our time. It's a proper environmental and feel-good experience. With sitting with Hippo for 20 minutes having a cup of hot chocolate or rusk
Life
or
could be
something.
worse.
Could be a lot worse.
I mean, that could
Yeah.
be a traffic jam in Sandton.
Yeah. And
what
we're
is
really
your-
spoilt in South Africa. I mean, this whole South Africa, every single part of South Africa there is some unique feature.
And what is your email address?
It's shakabaka@gmail.co.za or info, the office, if you want to go straight to the office, info@shakabaka.co.za.
And do you have a website?
Same, yeah, shakabaka.
.co.za?
.co.za, yeah.
Well, that's easy enough to remember. Name Shakabaka as a closing, where does that come from?
Righty. I wanted some kids. And I thought about having a son called Shakabaka, and the big guy said, no, he gave me 3 daughters.
And they were
And
not going
the
to
last
take
2
them
were
away.
twins. Not a chance. We've had 1 Shaka. Don't go there.
Oh my word,
think he's
otherwise
still
they could have
scratching his
ended
head
up as
about
Shakabaka.
Yeah.
I hope they're watching this because then they know how much they owe their dad. Because
Yeah.
they could have been twins called Shakabaka.
Yeah. So I named this boat we're standing on is called Shaka Barge, and the other boat's called Nandi Barge.
Okay,
So we settled that one.
so your twins aren't called Shaka
No,
and
it's
Nandi.
Camilla and Alex.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're safe.
Yeah. And then the twins on the water are Shaka and Nandi.
Thank you so much for your time, and once again, thank you for hosting us. It's been such a tremendous trip and learning more about St Lucia
Yeah.
and what we can see and do here. And yes, I'm Janine Preston from Life is a Beach.
These poor grazing hot summers disaster. They pushed it to 1960 when the apartheid government arrived, and things went from bad to worse. So what the apartheid government did, planted 5 million pine trees on the eastern shores and 10 million. And those trees were planted in the drainage area, bringing fresh water into the lake. But when they saw things going wrong, they then built the dredger harbour in the 70s, and they put in 5 dredges that they dredged up and down the narrows, which let in more seawater but no fresh water, because it was taken up by the pine trees. So by 1992, the lake was 9 times more salty than the sea. And that didn't work. And that's when Mandela was appointed for the spokesperson for the whole transformation of this park. And he said, guys, you've got to